And now the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 1130. Go! At 1130.
They've done it! They've done it! It's Maguire Drew! They've done it against this team!
Grimsby are heading back to the Football League.
Love it. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the DN35 podcast. Look, we've tried our best to thread the needle, trying to get as many of the sporting events out of the way as possible, but we haven't been able to manage it perfectly. So if you see me craning my neck, it's because I'm trying to watch the Hungarian Grand Prix out the corner of my eye. But thankfully, it looks like it's just going to be an inevitable Verstappen win. So, spoilers. I am joined by Tom, who was company for me yesterday, like someone trying to look after a child. Are you all right?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm still hot and sweaty. I'll tell you something. I was a massive proponent of having football in the summer. I thought it'd be a great idea. I don't want it anymore. I don't need people sat on me and stood against me when we're all hot and sweaty. And let's face it, football shirts don't help. They don't help, do they? Henry, it is so good to see you in the poshest of rooms. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, revitalised and ready to go for another season.
Well, I'm glad someone is, because the midfield may not
Helps,
have been.
yeah, helps I wasn't there yesterday.
Yeah. And Ian, how are you? And in Hannah's bedroom again?
I mean, you are going to cause some serious rumours if you keep going down with that line of attack on it.
Speaking of going down the same line of attack, no, that's a terrible. We didn't do that. Tom, you were there. You were stood with me, and apart from both of us getting Mayer mixed up with Green, what were your overall thoughts on the game?
I thought first half it was really fun, frenetic, and fast game. Two teams just sort of going for it really. But they probably over the whole 90 minutes were the better team in the centre of midfield, just a bit quicker than us to the ball, and didn't really give our centre midfielders any time at all. But we did get down the wings in the first half quite well and created a couple of really good scoring opportunities. Afete missed one from 2 yards out, and then Clifton had a shot that went wide that probably should have been on target at least. I actually thought we played quite well in the first half. I was really impressed with number 7 Smith, who played up front. He took down a ball in the first half and had a first time shot from it, which was pretty impressive. I personally thought Bryn Morris in midfield, when we had the ball, got into space quite well and showed for the ball and was really keen to get on it. But I thought our midfielders sort of did look a little bit off the pace, especially Green, unfortunately. We just, every time we got the ball, we seemed to just get closed down really quickly. But when we did pass it, we passed it quite well. And then in the second half, we just went into panic mode after conceding an albeit dubious penalty. I haven't seen it again, but we just seemed to sort of. I think
I've got to lay bare to your superior knowledge here, because you were right. It was a penalty for me. It's one of those. It's exactly the same as it was at Notts County, and it was hit at him from short range, but it is arm. And hey, if you have shots in the area, you might have a chance of getting a penalty.
Yeah. And I just, after the goal scored, instead of just like taking a couple of minutes to sort of reset, for want of a better word, we just like put the ball down for kickoff and like, right, let's just pile forward and try and get an equaliser. And I think if we'd just taken our time, we probably would have grown into the game and at least kept it a closer scoreline. But we didn't. And they went straight from having that penalty to having like a 5-10 minute period of pressure. And we just looked absolutely all over the place. And then within that 5-10 minutes, they scored another goal, and that was basically game over. And I think during the game, we discussed like the potential subs. And I think, you suggested that at the time, it probably would have been good to take off Green and Morris, push Clifton into midfield. And who did we say we should bring on centre mid?
I think, so I thought I should take Holohan and Green
Holohan
off.
and Green off, yeah.
And
then Clifton into midfield with Morris, and then bring on a winger or an attacker. And I think that probably would have served us better as well at the time. But obviously we didn't do that. They went a different way and we ended up losing 2-0. So hey ho. But I thought it was a good away day. It's my first time to Brisbane Road. Nice little programme. Don't know if anyone can see that.
Got your subs, got your ticket stub.
Got my ticket stub, and it was, one a bad area of London to sort of hang out in before kick-off. If we'd have had time for a Turkish kebab, I think I would have definitely sampled one of the local eateries. I'd recommend Brisbane Road as a way. If they could do up that stand where the away supporters are to what the rest of the ground's like, it'd be a really smart little ground. Anyway, I'll stop waffling and let someone else chat.
No, it's all right. You pretty much echo my sentiments on it, really. I mean, the fact when Tom is turning around to me going, Alex, that's actually quite an astute tactical decision. I'm freaking out a little bit. I want to call my mum. Henry, it's great to see you, my friend. As it is you, Ian. I'm not discounting you either. But get to see any of it yesterday, hear it. What were your sort of overall thoughts of that and the pre-season build-up? Lots of chat going in, and we'll try and get that in as well. Tom's showing everything that you get if we join OnlyFans.
I think it's a little bit of a wake-up call in terms of we're not in the conference anymore, and I think there is a difference between the divisions. I think when you look at it overall, it's not a surprise if we're a little bit off the pace at this stage. We've had the shortest time between the end of our season and the start of this season compared to anyone in the league. The shortest time to prepare, get players in. And I think because of that, we've got a few injuries that maybe other teams don't have issues with yet. And yeah, I think when you look at the injuries, the fact we didn't have a fit striker at all, and I'm sure we'll come on to that in a little bit. It's not a terrible loss. Like Tom said, those bright points in the first half. I think, to be honest, I think it's going to take us a couple of months to really settle into the division. And so going away from home first game is not the easiest fixture, and neither is Northampton at home next week. I think that could be quite difficult as well. So I think it will take us a little time to settle in, but there were positives to take away from it. Is that him, John?
That is Alex pretending to freeze so that he can go watch the F1.
That's it. Oh, has that come back? Okay, fine. What happened there? Is this the only place that we got broadband? We can't be losing this place as well. Can you hear me now? Good. I thought,
you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Is it working now? Apparently not. I thought Orient were really good. I thought they pressed us really well. I thought they closed us down. I thought they limited our options and sort of defended from the very front. It was annoying that Moncur scored just because he was a former Hull City player, but that's not a rivalry we really have. I thought that obviously we haven't even talked about their second goal, which was probably their goal of the season already. I mean, it's nice that we've got a fan base that tend to, when they go in, they tend to applaud them. And you saw quite a lot of people doing that in the away end because it's just, you couldn't beat it. And Tom was right. We almost sort of, our minds went a little bit. And when we stood there chatting, it was quite easy to sort of critique the first half. You could see what we're trying to do. You can talk about where we're going. The second half, not to mention that Orient controlled the ball really well and controlled the play really well, but we were just felt like we were reacting to stuff all the time and weren't really sort of trying to dictate play or trying to get our foot on the ball. It just felt like we were, all right, they've got a corner, so let's get that out there and then we'll deal with that in a minute. It just felt our heads went a little bit, and that's a shame. But yeah, we've talked about it a lot on the podcast about players getting around the ref, and we certainly did that when the penalty was called against us. But now I've seen it. Waterfall pleaded his case from a bit while he was doing so. But I thought Orient were pretty decent. I think that's the level we've got to look to attain towards the end of this. That's sort of what we need to be looking at as the aim for the end of the season. Ian, how did you feel about it and stuff? I've done my bit, so I can shut up now. So, what were your overall thoughts of? I don't know if you heard it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was at the game yesterday. There's a few.
Oh, we're able to see it.
I think there's been a big, slightly strange fallout actually from some sides about yesterday. Henry alluded to it. We've had a short pre-season compared to, I think Hurst himself mentioned the fact that he would want the guys to be a bit fitter. We've obviously got a couple of injuries. We wouldn't, in an ideal world, want McAtee to be leading the line. We want him playing off somebody. That doesn't help. You've got a few new players added into the mix, which need a bit of time to gel potentially. First half, we probably edged it. The Afete chance is pretty much a shocker, to be honest. It's fairly standard of a kind of a lower league footballer not wanting to go with their weaker foot. But I think if he does, that changes it massively. It very least gives you something to hold on to. Penalty is unfortunately definitely a penalty. And we've had a few of them recently, because even in the first half, Smith had one as well. So I don't know if there's something in that. I remember a few years ago, is it Andrew Wright, who we had on loan from Scunthorpe? Every time he used to come and close somebody down, he held his hands behind his back. He used to play in central midfield doing that, I think. And you think Notts County, say Smith had one in the first half. Maybe it's just a bit of confirmation bias on my part, and I'm just remembering a few in a short spell. Obviously, their second goal was an absolute worldie strike. The guy will never hit one like that again. You have to assume with him being a right back, that's his weaker left foot as well. After that, probably a combination of fitness and a little bit of panic at trying to get back into it came into the fray. But, you know, it's also, to a degree, probably a shape we're not used to playing us at the same time. A lot of the time, I think Hurst has wanted to play 4-4-2, or at least with McAtee playing off somebody, as I mentioned. So how long we've had to prepare into that formation, you don't know. And that'll be a tough thing. But hopefully Taylor getting, 30 minutes, give or take? That'll help him come back in. And if we can ease him back in, that'll be a massive start. But for me, it's just going to be a case of a little bit longer just to get used to things. Not like last time when we came up and we kind of hit the ground running. We're just going to need maybe those extra couple of weeks just to build up the fitness a bit.
Just a few things to follow on from points Ian's raised. About the penalty thing, like, we can remember quite a few that have gone against us, but how many have gone for us? I can't remember the last one of those that went our way. So maybe it is something that we're doing. I mean, I'm sure people can bring them up, but I can't remember off the top of my head one going our way. And just on the fitness side of it, I think it's a little bit of a worry that our top two attackers in Taylor and McAtee generally can't last 90 minutes at the moment. And, you know, we got away with it in the playoffs, which were 3 incredible games, but across the season, especially with McAtee's shoulder, where he chose not to have surgery on it and miss the rest of last season, which helped us get promotion, it might be a problem that we have to manage throughout. So just a question on fitness. And Taylor's I came here with an injury history, and he's never been really able to last 90 minutes when he has been fit.
I mean, it's going well when my internet here has dropped out 4 times in 15 minutes. So that's going to be fun. So thank you for holding the fort. Yeah, I agree.
I didn't think Taylor was the right sub. Sorry to just cut in there.
No,
Yesterday,
it's
I
all right. You do
thought
that.
we tried sort of pumping it up. We'd obviously seen something, I think, with their left back, or we felt that our stronger side was the right side yesterday, because a lot of what we did was sort of targeted towards their left back with kickouts from our keeper, whose name has just escaped me there, Crocombe. But it didn't really work. Like the long balls just weren't working, and then so it seems like a bit of a baffling decision to me to then bring on Taylor and continue to just sort of lump it up to him, having somewhat tried that for quite a lot of the game, and it not working. I did think that was a poor decision yesterday, but I don't know what the timings of the subs were, but I did think he was at least a little bit more proactive with the subs yesterday. He made sort of two lots of two subs, which was, at least sort of really trying to change the game.
Do you guys think that? Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, just to follow on quickly, he has mentioned in pretty much all of his interviews in pre-season that he wants to utilise the 5 subs because we're going to need it because our fitness levels aren't up to scratch. So I think that's probably something that we're going to see for the next few weeks.
It just looks very restricted in what he's able to bring on. When you're looking at the team yesterday, it was about 55 midfielders and Matt Taylor, who's a little bit injured. So, I mean, Henry, you wanted to talk about it. Matt Dannett, who is always the bringer of great news. Let's face it, he's the harbinger of doom when it comes to strikers. And Lewis Grant has asked as well. So McAtee is rumoured to be going to Luton Town for $500,000. With, I think the additional thing was that he would be loaned back to us for the rest of the season. Henry, you were the one that wanted to bring it up. So you...
Well, just firstly, did Matt Dannett ever get a rumour right when he was at the Telegraph?
I mean, at least he didn't break the embargo, I guess. So at least he was on the the teams.
Sorry about that. Just had to say it. Yeah. 500 grand seems a ridiculously high amount. I don't know what anyone else thinks about that. And also, I can't see the loan back thing happening. I mean, someone made a point that he's got 1 year left on his deal. So if they're going to spend 500 grand on him, why don't they just wait a year and then get him on a free at the end of the year? If they didn't want him to play this year, so I don't see the loan back thing being realistic.
Oh, well, that sounds good.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Henry. It does sound a bit strange that you pay 500 grand for somebody to loan him back when you could have him for free in, well, a season's time. Although for what it's worth, there's obviously been talk about him having a new contract at Town for some time, which seems to have gone very quiet. If there's an offer of 500 grand comes in, unfortunately, I think at the level Grimsby are at the moment, you've got to snap their hands off for that. Yes, he's our talismanic player. He's our main creative threat. But he's essentially come from not playing much at Scunthorpe. So there's going to be plenty of other opportunities for other players to come in and do the same, if not potentially better in a slightly different way. 500 grand, I mean, does that get rid of the old despot totaliser nearly?
Yeah, I think it'd be done then. Hit the road, Jack, and all that. I think we could safely say he's done. But it does feel like, I don't know. It's just, if that 500 grand's there and we lose McAtee, you've got, if say, for example, it all went to, him, old Voldemort, then it doesn't leave us with much. I know we've got a relatively decent coffers, I'd imagine, given the season ticket sales and the like. But obviously the club will be looking to bring someone in.
How much do you think's left there, Alex? Because you were keeping a track on it, and
you want me to go back to it? Do you?
The whole Dembele thing, like that, all went quiet after Bournemouth got promoted.
Let's have a look then.
Say that again.
Shall we have a look?
Yeah, I
Tom's
think
gone. I haven't worked it out, and I've done this wrong because this is a background image rather than a front image. So apologies, and I haven't downloaded it. So if we get rid of Ian, go away for 3 seconds. Let's see if we can do this. This is going well. No, that's terrible. Don't do that. Right, hang on. That doesn't help. Emery. Oh well. Yeah. Look, I think we're about there. Basically, if you want it, the slide pack will be available after the presentation. So feel free to come back to us. But I think it was yeah, I reckon it'll be all but done, isn't it? I mean, if I think we'd worked it out if the guys had paid, and we'll probably just ask Jason, he'd probably say no, we haven't paid out yet. But if they'd already paid 500 grand, I think it's done because Grist was about 250. Oh, 350, sorry. As was Pollock. Pollock was about 250. We got about 100 grand for Dembele when Peterborough went up as an additional fee. And then I think we made about 650 on top of that. So I think we're all but there.
that's my impression. I would imagine that the majority of that 500 would be available.
I think the other thing as well is we know that there's probably still some money that's available for Hurst, whether that's on wages alone or a small fee, because we've seen the squad numbers recently. We've kept number 9 spare. You don't generally
waiting for Tristan Abraham.
But you don't keep number 9 spare for no reason, do you? Do you know what I mean? If even if they'd wanted to bloody move McAtee to number 9 and just to get a few more shirt sales with his name and number on the back, do you know what I mean? Anything daft like that. There's perhaps a few things being worked on.
Surely, if you're an astute team, you make sure your star players are double-figured numbers, don't you? You want them to. You want to get that extra £2.50, £3 from the number, don't you?
Potentially, I guess, yeah. I think just touch back on something Henry said there. Obviously, season ticket sales have been a lot higher this year than normal by about what, bloody 2,500 or something, is it? More probably. But the only thing with that is we'll have to bear in mind that might not have a massive increase on the budget as we'd think, because naturally that loses you out on the day-to-day ticket sales at £20 plus potentially of whatever they are. So yes, we've got loads more fans in through season tickets, but you might lose out in other areas throughout the season as well. So you've got that initial burst, but there might need to be a bit of budgeting just to cover things as we go through the season, obviously.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe all right. I mean, I don't know. It can't be a bad thing, I guess. But it's just. Do we win? Do we get anything for going up? Do you get a prize total? I imagine the National League give you a van for a week or something to use.
Wow, we got fuck all from playoff gates. I can't imagine the prize pot is going to be sort of substantial, is it?
No,
it's more just the funding from the youth setup, that kind of thing.
But we've never been. Hurst has never been one of those sort of players to pay a big old fee for a striker, though, is he? I mean,
no, but
Adamino was the only one he paid for, didn't he? Oh, right, cool.
Neil Woods bought Adamino, didn't he?
Yeah, or Hearn as well.
Yeah, that would have been them.
Yeah,
I think Scott and Hurst. Yeah,
yeah. I do think, though, listening to what he's been saying, he's clearly after a striker, and money is mentioned quite often in his interviews. And he's not saying it from a position of I'm unhappy with the owners, because he constantly says how happy he is with the setup, with the ownership, the direction that we're going, and he wants to take us as far as he can. But there is always a mention of money and the lack of availability of strikers. Now, would he see it as McAtee is in effect, he forces us to play a certain shape with the 4-2-3-1 with him just behind the striker. He's not fit for 90 minutes all of the time, and we've got a year left on his contract and he's going to go. Now, would Hurst see it as that I could get 2 quality players in with fees for McAtee, including a number 9, and would he think, okay, yes, that's that's going to be worth it. And then we switched to say a 4-3-3, which is what we started with on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I just think, sort of reading between the lines, I do wonder if this is the direction we're going to go, and maybe he has already in mind who he would pay money for.
You might well be right, Henry. I think even just to simplify it further, it's just the level you're at. If you get a decent offer for any of your players, you're always going to have to consider it because of the finances that are involved in a team at League Two level. You know, with Jason and Andrew have come in and obviously put a decent amount of their own money in, but they've said all along that they haven't got the finances to just consistently dig deep and be lower league Abramovich, if you like, or Man City. So that's unfortunately the way it's going to have to be. Although they're not in this position now, look what Scunthorpe did for a period of about 7 or 8 years, where they consistently signed a striker from the lower leagues, brought them through, sold them on. There was 5 or 6 examples of that, wasn't there, where they got decent sized fees and used it to improve the whole team and eventually ended up in the Championship from it.
Do you think that's harder now, though, as clubs go more and more into data and more into sort of the stigma of being a non-league player is sort of evaporating? You saw, was it Rochdale brought in a guy from Darlington at the start of the season who I wanted. Tishmanga obviously went for 250 grand to Chesterfield. You've got another couple of players that have come up from there and gone to League Two and League One clubs. Is it harder now to find those players because people are prepared to go deeper to get the guys they want?
I would argue it is, but from a different perspective. Ian gives a really good example of what Scunny did with like Paul Hayes, Billy Sharp, all of those players, but that was 15 years ago. I think if you look now, all of the young talent goes into the top tier academies. And I think it's much harder for us to find a young product and develop them and sell them because they're already in the top tier academies and then get loaned out for the majority. So I think it is different now.
Jack Brighton says we might get Toure Cisse in on loan from Accrington. You might be right, Jack. We might be that lucky. You never know. We might even put a number on his back of his shirt as well. That's an incredible signing. I absolutely love it. I'm sure he'll prove us all wrong and score 56 goals next season. It's trying to work it out because obviously Bogle's the one that people would probably reference, but he was a guy that had already scored 19 goals in League Two, so had already had that sort of pedigree. Where McAtee is still kind of an unknown quantity in this league, and didn't score a huge amount of goals last season, but I mean, we still ended up being our leading goal scorer. It's I don't know. I don't know what you do. It's kind of course we should worry about him going, but we're short of strikers as it is. But does he really count as a striker? So, I mean, what do you have? You have right. Who have we got up front? Ryan Taylor, Dorsey.
Who's Dorsey? Who are these names we've been making up over the last couple of days, Alex?
Isn't it Danilo Orsi? Danilo Orsi.
Danilo, isn't it?
Danilo Orsi. Is that not right?
Well, yeah. We had Dorsey, Matt Taylor.
Oh, it's bacon in this room. This is basically like a greenhouse. I'm going with that as an excuse, but maybe not last week. Daniel, yeah. So you got him. Who else have we got?
I think that's pretty much it.
That's it. Okay. Well, we're fine then.
Dorsey's out for a couple of months.
Okay. So I mean, it's a struggle.
Yeah. And so basically, I think if you get the offer of 500 grand in Hurst's position or in the club's position, you're like, look, we could buy 2 attacking players for that money who are good for the level, then I think you do, don't you?
Daniel Lewis says Kiernan played up front for Warsaw last season. To be fair, I thought he played really well yesterday. Actually, I thought he created a couple of chances and was able to take a man on, which is not always something you see. And I think he sort of linked up with Afete quite well. I don't know though, but when Cropper came on, I was buzzing. When Cropper came on, and we had Leyton Orient had a player, James, who could throw the ball. Well, he was certainly prepping himself like he could throw it. And all these Orient fans were getting on. I think, guys, you've got no idea what a long throw actually is. Is their ball sort of, piddles to the edge of the 6-yard box, and then Cropper comes in and throws it into their keeper at hot hands. He sort of has to take it twice. because it goes in with so much power. Can we not train him to play up front? Can we just say we've got someone to throw it into? I don't know. It's an interesting one. Afete gives you it's the better right back, but for chance creation alone, he's the guy you want on the pitch. I don't know. I don't know what we do.
I think, in fairness as well, before Cropper joined us, he'd spent most of his career and appearances playing on the right wing. I'm pretty sure that's where he played for Chesterfield.
There we go. All sorted. We've just sorted it. We fixed it.
Right wing.
And then still no one up front. Yeah, Kiernan up front. There, we're done. I can't believe we've sorted it already. Paul Hurst, you're very welcome. Everyone gets a telly. It's okay. Talking of this, so Henry, you've touched on it already with Scunny. The way that Jason and the club sort of talk about looking after older players and making sure that he did a great interview with Price of Football. If you haven't picked it up, go listen to that podcast as well, where he was talking about giving players the chance to, at the end of their careers, getting a chance to speak to life coaches and getting a chance to speak to therapists and to I guess careers advisors as well. Do you think we will become a bigger draw for maybe players getting towards the end of their career, and we'll be able to pick up higher caliber ones? And as such, have you also seen the rumor of us getting Billy Sharp?
I have seen the rumor. Not sure I believe the rumor. I don't know. Hurst has never been. He's never really been one to sign older players, has he? I mean, when he came in the relegation season, he brought in Lenny and Giles Cope. I think that was very much from a desperation. We need experience to try and get us out of this mess. But in his first spell, and you'd say since last summer, I can't really name too many players where you're like, oh, yeah, they've got 1 or 2 years left, and that's it. So I don't know. I don't necessarily see it as, oh, yeah, we're going to go and get ex-Premier League players who want to play a couple more years. I don't see that. But I think overall it does make us more attractive to everybody, just because we look a well-run outfit and we look professional. And I think having the value of looking after your players would be attractive no matter how old they are.
What about you, Ian? Are you up for Billy Sharp? I would like it just because it would boil the piss out of some Scunny fans. And then we get Van Veen as well. And don't do anything with him. Just sit him on the bench.
I think after some of the stick he gets on Twitter, there's not a chance that he's going to come and sign for Town, let's be honest. And given out on Twitter, in fairness to him, he's given a bit back at the same time. Yeah, I think it's maybe a rumour that's based out of people putting perhaps 2 and 2 together. I mean, Billy Sharp was first team for Sheffield United last season until he got a groin or a hamstring injury, one of the two, and then his facial injury right at the end of the season. But I would fully expect him in there.
You mean when he got punched?
Diving headbutt, yeah.
Well, he ain't coming here now, is he?
I mean, they're playing tomorrow, aren't they? So it'd be interesting to see whether he's in and around the team. I don't know if he's back from the injury he had, but he was regular last year. I think he still got 1 and 2 in the Championship. If we've made an inquiry for him, and is he available, you'd have to say it'd be tough to find him drop into a team who are probably mid-table to wanting to push for playoff spots in League 2 after promotion. Bearing in mind that there'll be a host of League 1 and League 2 clubs. We've already said it's tough to find strikers. So if somebody of Billy Sharp's pedigree is knocking about, you'd imagine there's going to be a lot of people interested there.
So you're basically saying it's happening. So we're gonna have McAtee and Billy Sharp up front with 500 grand in the bank for the rest of the season. I mean,
I'm saying it's going to help our blunt strike force. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it can't be a blunt strike force when there isn't one. Henry, are we regretting letting some of the players like Manny go and the like, or do you think they went just because they couldn't be offered the football they wanted?
I think they went because Hurst didn't think they were up to the standard of the division.
Of no strikers.
And well, I firmly believe we won't be we will have the extra striker in by the end of August. I think it's similar with the midfielders. He's just going to stick it out, and he's always said he won't add players who he doesn't think can hack it and just add numbers. And I do think that for Manny and for Tristan Abrams, like they're not necessarily at this level, and I think the fact that they haven't signed at this level shows that. I think if we were to keep one, maybe Manny, just because he's amazing and because he offers something a bit different. You could chuck him on for the last 10 minutes if you were behind in a game and see if you can just throw it on his head. So maybe you could question that, but I think he's got a budget, and let's see what the squad looks like in September. I think.
Has yesterday's performance and result changed any of your predictions on where the team would finish? In fact, I don't think we've ever got your predictions, guys. Like, what are you thinking, Ian, in terms of where the club will finish this year? What are the aims?
It's a tough one, and I know Tom would hate this if he was here with his promotion train and all sorts of things.
Oh no, Tom! Do you know Tom started promotion train yesterday, and he's not here, so it's rude to defend him. But the train had been made to a bus replacement service by the end of the game.
I mean, he staked like 3 months' wages on us getting Championship League winners, hasn't he? I think, and all sorts of things. I think something that we have to remember is it's great that we kept the vast majority of the squad together from last year. Yes, we lost. Well, we didn't get offer terms to a few like Tristan and Manny that you just mentioned. Of those that we wanted, only Ben Fox went elsewhere from memory. But something we do also have to remember is that we were quite a bit off it in final terms, in terms of league position and points, behind Stockport and Wrexham miles out of the top. I think that for this year, yes, we've added some good players. Green's come with a lot of Halifax fans saying they're going to miss him. The same for Mayer. There's obviously a couple of other good signings in there potentially. But for me, I think if we was to finish mid-table and have a bit of a potential push at playoffs, I think that would be a decent season. Anything after that's a bonus.
I'd agree. Yeah. I think if we can finish top half, I think that's been a really good season.
Anything above 14th, I think, is because that's where we haven't finished since 2007, I think.
Yeah. And I think also, like, just as a rule of thumb, generally you'd say the top half of the conference would be comfortable in League Two, and we were, like Ian said, we weren't in the top three. We were miles off the pace of the top two, and we had an amazing playoff run. But over the course of a season, that would suggest that we weren't quite at that level, and I think it's going to take a couple of years before we're pushing the top. So if we can establish ourselves and sort of flirt around the edges and be sort of like in February, March, like 10 points off or something like that, or 7 points off, then I think that's a good season and a good start.
I think we've got to say as well, there's going to be a bit like the conference last year. There's some teams in League Two that are throwing a decent chunk of money at it, certainly more than we can afford to throw and put about. So your Stockport's obviously still well backed. Northampton apparently have got a little bit behind them, and they fancy themselves to go up after missing out just last year in the playoffs. Bradford are always going to be well backed at this level. And then you've got the teams who, like Leyton Orient yesterday, for example, that have been in and around League Two for some time. And presumably they are fancied in their chances at going for a playoff run and things like that, and have got well-established League Two squads now, if not with a sprinkling of League One talent mixed into there as well, potentially. So it's a tough league. It's always going to be, and especially for a team like Grimsby that's coming up, having a lot of debt being cleared and not having been invested in the right way for a long period of time. The things that we've got going on at the moment, we just need to remember that. And that's why, to be fair, the fallout from yesterday was a little bit disappointing with the reaction of some people, even pre-game, when we had Taylor on the bench and McAtee up front on his own, sort of people losing the plot a little bit that we haven't got another striker in the door yet and a couple of other positions maybe, that we have to remember where we've come from basically, 15 months ago?
Some people, let's be honest though, some people are just absolute morons. They just lead with their emotions and don't put their brain into gear, do they? There's so many people that you see on social media, and that Facebook the Facebook one, which was what? Praise and grumble. My God, it went into a cataclysmic rage. I'm quite surprised it didn't get so annoyed it sent itself into an orbit. I don't understand. Look, I get annoyed, and I say things in the heat of at the moment. Our Twitter feed shows that, but it doesn't take long before you go, right, look, this A, B, C and causation and correlation and stuff. Just, chill out. This is going to be a season where we are going to learn. I was surprised how good Leyton Orient were yesterday compared to us, and I thought the only worries I had was how easily the ball was turned over in midfield from us. And it did just feel a little. It would be good actually to speak to someone from Orient to see exactly sort of had they had many changes to their team sort of from last season, because they just looked a little bit more switched on, and we just looked a little bit, like it isn't working yet, and they don't know each other's bits. But I'll tell you something, McAtee, while we're talking about, he made one move on the sideline. Flicked it inside his man with a back heel. That was beautiful. I mean, it wasn't worth the 4-hour journey, but it was nice to see. It was a lovely bit of football. It's just, I don't know, some Town fans just need to chill out a bit. Look, we're up in the league earlier than we expected to. We're not going to go down. We're well run. We'll be fine. I think if we're in the top half of the table, we've done exceptionally well, and we've already got what is now a nearly 15-year duck off our back. And I think that's where we need to be aiming for. And I don't know, strikers just seem to be really hard to come by, harder than they've ever been.
Yep. Don't really have anything to add to that, to be honest, Alex.
Oh, John Lewis. I know what you mean, my friend, but he had earned it with 3 of those flicks, so I think he deserved an opportunity. And when you've had a player that at Wrexham just put it into the top right left-hand corner, you've got to give him an opportunity to take the shot, because it was one of the few shots we had all game. So I know you say he wasted it, but at least he had a go. I just don't think we create much. We didn't create much up front, and we were just running, chasing our legs in the second half, chasing our tails in the second half. Gents, what do you think is going to... What are your sort of surprise predictions for the league? Is there anything else we haven't talked about? I know we're only 42 minutes in, but I feel like we've exhausted it.
Surprise predictions for the league?
Yeah, anything. What are your thoughts so far? Walsall apparently have a ton load of cash and are apparently now the richest club in the world, which is interesting to know. Rochdale are apparently a team that are going to struggle. And do you think the sort of the predictions that have been put against Town, mostly to finish sort of 16th, 17th, they're about right?
Yeah, I think you can understand why people are putting us around there. I mean, me and Henry have obviously both just said that sort of finishing top half would be a decent result. So anybody that's saying 16th, 17th, probably not that far away from what we're saying, really, to be fair. And we're wanting to push up a little bit higher. I think if I'm going to give an odd prediction, one for me to watch out for would be Mark Hughes at Bradford. I think not to the same level, quite as basket case as the guy I'm going to mention, but I think there's a little bit of potential of a Holloway situation there in terms of somebody coming in from higher leagues, doesn't know League Two, and will be relying on his contacts. And if his contacts, for whatever reason, don't come up trumps, then he could struggle. Is Alex gone again?
Oh, he was frozen then.
No, I'm here. I was trying to read what Mark Hughes' managerial successes have actually been.
Mark Hughes' managerial successes have probably been not a million miles away from Holloway's, relatively speaking. He's managed in and around the Premier League a lot more. But I don't.
But he was known for playing. He was basically Steve Bruce, wasn't he? He just plays a bit of Dower, and he was just a safe name that everybody, knew who they were, but weren't probably happy they got him.
I'm trying to think. Did well at Blackburn, didn't he? With Santa Cruz and Benny McCarthy up front. Went to City. Went to QPR. Can't think of anywhere else he's been off the top of my head. But
Fulham.
Yeah,
he was at Fulham for a bit.
Fulham. Yeah, I just think there's a potential that you've got somebody coming in who doesn't know. Doesn't know lower league, that well, and that could be a struggle.
Yeah, it is. It's I agree, kind of thing. I think Barrow aren't going to do as bad as people say. I think Pete Wild knows his stuff, and I know they won against Stockport yesterday, but I think they'll be fine. A lot of people have them to go straight down. I still think Stockport will do really well, and I still think they'll go straight up because they've just got a bit too much money and power behind them. What about you, Henry?
Strange predictions.
Anything that, yeah.
I don't know, really. To be honest, I've not really given this season that much.
I thought you were going to say giving two shits.
No, it's difficult. It's just so bizarre with the start date. I just I don't know. I feel a bit almost not quite ready for the season to start yet. If that makes sense.
No, me either.
Strange one. I don't know. I don't have anything new for you, Alex. I'm afraid.
No, that's all right. Were you? I mean, it's been a while since you guys have been on. So, is there anything you've missed in the point since you've been here? Have you been able to talk about the playoff win?
I still can't quite believe it happened, to be honest. I think that's kind of where I'm at. I just can't. Yeah, it was just such a surreal couple of weeks, and it's not just a playoff win. It was probably the Wrexham game and the Notts County game. Like that whole 2 weeks, I'm not sure we'll experience another 2 weeks quite like it, to be honest.
And what about you, Ian? How did you feel about it all? Have you recovered?
I mean, you had the pleasure of looking at my chins after all of those games you often pointed out, Alex. So, no, I mean, that was utterly ridiculous. I mean, to be fair as well, the Notts County one was probably the one that was the most emotional, with them both literally being almost last kick of the game jobs. Wrexham was just end-to-end madness. And you had, I know I said it at the time, but I've watched the game back since. I think barring a spell at the start of the second half where we were all over them and probably could have gone 3-1 up inside the first 10 minutes, every time anybody went forward in that game, it looked like they were going to score, especially from set pieces and long throws and things like that. I mean, talk about stereotypical lower league football, literally just get the ball in the box and out for a bounce, going your way. But that honestly, yes, the result was enjoyable, but that game itself was really not for anybody, I don't think. But it was horrible. I can only talk from being in the stand. It was absolutely horrible because every time you went a goal up, it's like, right, okay, well, we'll concede in 3 or 4 minutes then, and that'll be that back to being level. Yeah, just unreal, and you know, I'd like to think some of that has caused the knock-on effect with the season tickets and a bit more of the getting some of the old stay-away fans back in. And long may it continue, because then hopefully we can keep pushing these numbers up. And I know it's tough for people that are not able to make every home game and shift workers and things like that. And that's an unfortunate knock-on effect. But hopefully if a buyback scheme comes in from the club for certain tickets, that will help as well. But you've just got to say overall that was it about 5,700 season tickets we've sold, give or take. That's just ridiculous to have sold getting on towards 3/4 of the stadium in season tickets, or certainly with decent views and seats and things, is an absolutely unreal number. And yeah, that can only bode well for the club for the future. So you've just got to say that it's well done to everybody in and around the club for what's happened in, as we mentioned earlier on, about 15 months' time. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is. It's nice to be in, and I think we've got to keep remembering it, because I don't think I still get people asking me about it now. People I haven't seen for ages go, God, that playoff final, all I could think about was you, and biting your nails. It's incredible. Yeah, and I don't know. It's interesting, isn't it? I'm still in a state of shock, really, from it all. And I was like, are we really in League Two discussing it? Why is the season starting so stupidly early, like July, for a game? It's absolutely ridiculous.
Are we on reduced fixtures during the World Cup then, or are we just playing our normal schedule?
I don't know.
No, that's a good question. I didn't notice that we had reduced fixtures, but I guess that is the FA Cup delayed and things like that, or at a different time from after Christmas and bits and bobs?
When is it's in November? We've apparently got 2 games.
Oh, well, we must be on reduced fixtures then. Because the World Cup it's mid-November to mid-December.
So November.
Let's see when England are playing, because I assume we'll probably be avoiding the England games, won't we?
Yeah, so in November we've got 2 games all week, 12th and the 19th of November. But I guess FA Cup maybe in there, first and second round.
That does give us.
Bloody
the
hell!
World Cup starts on the 19th of November. On the 19th, I think.
Yeah, the group games are really close together. Actually, England play Iran on the 21st of November, the USA on the 25th, and then Wales on the 29th. So there's 4 days between each. That seems a little bit.
We could be out in 8 days. We go back to concentrating on football, league football.
Yeah, I don't know whether, because obviously they'll have moved things like FA Cup, League Cup semis and things are around there, and there's always potential of a lower league side being involved. So maybe they've just shifted things around even in the lower leagues, although it does look like we're going to play through certainly in December.
Yeah, it's a bit mad, really. It's going to be interesting at least, but at least the football will be there to keep us company. It'd be good to watch our games from our villas in France as well, won't it? Now that Mariners TV's been launched. Every Saturday, fly out there so I can watch my game.
I'm actually in France next weekend, so I'll try it out.
Same here.
Oh, yeah,
I'm there. I'm there too. We'll meet up in Bordeaux for a quick left.
I'm down there in Montpellier.
Oh, well, it's not too far.
And see John Louis.
Yeah, we'll meet in Toulouse. That's about halfway. We'll go there and we can watch the game from our individual French residents.
Find like an Irish pub and ask them to put it on.
Do you know what? Once we were in France, our lad was only drinking like squash, and we went to Italy and we couldn't find any squash whatsoever unless it was peach. So we found this Irish bar and went in. I said, "I'm really sorry, mate. Do you have any Robinsons?" And he gave us it in like a little. He gave us the little bottle. It's like, "Thanks very much. See you later." Irish bars doing their good deed for the world. But I don't know. Sam's asked, what games are you looking forward to home and away? Because we are struggling for content. I'm looking forward to Wimbledon away, which would be quite nice if I can get a ticket. It'll be nice to see Bradford at home's always good, isn't it? And the last game of the season when we're promoted as champions will be nice as well.
I think all of the home games for me with that many season ticket holders. Look
at you showing that you got a season ticket. I don't have to worry about a home game.
No, it costs a lot to fly from France all the time to come and watch Henry.
I know. Yeah, I think just like your random fixtures in February or whatever, and there's still going to be 6,000+ there. Hopefully, I think that's just such a change from years past. Certainly since I think when you look back at the last time we were in League Two and just how it was almost inevitable that we were slowly sort of sliding back down again. And there's some dreadful fixtures in front of small crowds playing bad football. And hopefully this year it'll be a completely different experience in the same way that the non-league home games were. So that's really what I'm looking forward to the most.
Henri. Old Henri. Jack Barton says Stockport home New Year's Days is the one he's looking forward to. What about you, Ian?
Donny away Easter Monday.
Oh yeah, that'd be good. Do you reckon we're going to get 4,500 again?
That could be a big one. Massive crowd. And I think, to be fair, when we went last time, weren't we terrible?
Yeah, we had one shot all game, I think.
Oh, yeah, Mad Gavin.
Who fell over in the box trying to kick the ball?
Oh, Henry, this could be any one of hundreds of players that have played for us in the game.
It was specific. It was like a set piece, and the ball came in the box, and I can't remember who it was, but they weren't very good, and they tried to hit it at goal, and they just fell over.
I seem to think it was possibly one of our worst central midfielders we've had. I know Mad Gav was in the middle.
I think it was a central midfielder.
Honestly, I think it was such a.
Come on, Ian, you're good at these things.
I know. I'm actually, to be fair, I'm cheating.
11 from Donny away.
I am cheating now, but Barrett, Summerfield, and Comley apparently, but I'm sure Gunning played in the midfield unless I've got the wrong game here.
I think it must have been Summerfield then. Have you
Yeah.
found it?
Yeah, I think this is the wrong one though. This is December 2016. That feels like the wrong game.
No, that is the right game. That's the one that we took 4,000 to.
Oh, is it? Fair enough. I thought we had Gunning in the middle in that game, but apparently he's not on this team sheet. But yeah, I mean, honestly, the midfield and forward line, Barrett, Summerfield, Comley, Jackson, Vernon, Boller, Winra. That is absolutely illustrious.
Where was Bogle
then? Had he gone by then?
No, because it was before January, wasn't that?
Yes, I don't know, but he's not even on the bench.
Oh, there it is. That's what I was thinking of. That's my one memory from that game.
Oh, I remember the worst free kick routine ever. Oh, I remember that now, yeah.
Oh, my days.
If we'd have scored from that, that'd have been our greatest ever goal. All them competitions that Bruce runs, that would have won it.
Oh, dearie me. I'd forgotten about that.
I was with...
So long as this season goes better than that, I'll be happy.
I was with Ron Ulrich from 11 Freunde, who'd come over to do an article on Town Fans, and he joined us to play for the Internet Mariners in the morning, and then spent the afternoon with us in the stand as well, and had the pleasure of explaining to Ron who Peter Sutcliffe was and why he was our friend.
Oh, God, that chant can go. God. Christ. Look, for anyone, we forget this is a podcast. That was a clip of Luke Summerfield trying to take a free kick from the edge of the D. And as he does so, he slips on his arse like absolutely every fail video you've seen. And it still, becomes probably our best chance of the game. But there we go. Luke Summerfield. Oh, wow. Are you pleasantly surprised with the business we've done this summer then, guys, to wrap it up? We've got an England game to go watch.
Mayer and Green are fantastic signings.
It's amazing. It's amazing what people see, because I thought he was off the pace yesterday, Green. But I mean, it's not fair to judge someone on one game. It's just
no. I mean, they've got to have time, firstly, to bed into the new team, and secondly, I think Hurst has said he's lacking a bit of fitness. So I think I don't think. They always say 10 games. I don't think you can judge a new signing really until December, can you? So, but I think on paper they both look great signings.
And what do you think is the problem with trying to attract strikers then?
I just don't think there's that much.
I think Hurst is right. Yeah, Hurst says there's not that many of them.
So we're going to have to come up with in the National League. How many? I think I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday. There's only 3 that went over 20 goals. I think Mullin, Tishmanga, and one other, and Tishmanga missed obviously a good third of the season.
I think he did, Andrew. I think Green did headbutt Holohan, and that's why he was injured.
Even League 2 goal scorers last season. I think again, I had a look at this. I actually think there was only 2 people made it into 20 goals for the season. So there's just not that many, and maybe it's a little bit of fans that were right behind the curve, whereas you used to have a 25, 30 goal a season quite regularly, who would just maybe stand up front and that would be their job, stick the ball in the back of the net. It's now reliant on more people getting 6, 7, 8 plus, and maybe one player getting your 15, 20 margin.
So you've got 2 players that scored more than 20. So Dom Telford and M. Stevens. Jamil Matt was third.
Yep.
With
18, I think.
With 19.
19.
But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe we don't have to worry so much. So we are going up. HMS pissed the league.
Just for reference, in the league above, there's 5 goal scorers last year who scored over 20.
Let's get one of them.
Yeah. And all of those cost a lot of money.
Well,
Yeah.
that's fine. We've got loads of money.
But yeah, that's the thing. I just think it's, gone are the days when you'd look at every club having a recognised person that was going to get you the goals. Even Town had people for a few years where you think, yeah, they're your threat. And I think now it's with the changing styles and things like that, and the fact that most teams like to press from the front now, you can't just have somebody that's going to stand there and wait for the ball or do nothing other than stick a chance away. If you can find one, absolutely brilliant. To be fair, probably the last one we had would be Hammond, maybe. I might be doing him a bit of a disservice then saying he just stood and waited for chances. But
even then, he didn't come in with a proven track record.
No. Same with Bogle was the last one, wasn't he? Because he was the last one to leave. But
Bogle was the last striker we signed with a proven track record goal scoring.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I don't know what we'll do. Gents, it is lovely to see you. I'm looking forward to this season at least, even though I sound dour from it. My voice still croaky from yesterday. The Town fans, an incredible voice at the start of the game. Really was brilliant. 1,250 of them.
Don't let Bruce listen to that. You know what he's like about Southern Mariners and attendance.
I know. Well, maybe what he would say is that all the Grimsby lot came down to help us out. It sounded good, though it did get a bit quieter towards the end of the game. Leyton Orient fans loved it. Oh my God, there was a section of them. They played "Rocking All Over the World" at the end, at the final whistle, and heard that since we won the Auto Windscreen Shield. But Henry, great to see you.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
And you, Ian, as well. And I feel really left out that I didn't put on a Town shirt. I'll have to do that next time. But thank you all so much. We will do the draw for the raffle. I've just got to get some internet at home, and then we'll be good to do it. Because we don't want you thinking that it's all just going to be Henry that wins it all, and we'll do it again next year with the same prizes. We'll see you soon. Thank you all so much for listening. Any questions, or you want to get involved in the pod or anything like that, drop us a line. We'll see what we can do, and we shall see you all next week. And enjoy the final tonight. We haven't even touched on the women's Euros final. Good luck to them against Germany. It'll be fine. And Max Verstappen won the Grand Prix. Boring. All right. See you later.
Bye.